So we are live again. We're back with the Renny Show. Thrilled to be with you on this rather grey day where I am. Hello, Jenny. Lovely to see you.
Good afternoon. It is grey and rainy here, but as ever, we bring the sunshine into people's
Absolutely.
lives with the Renny Show.
And today that sunshine is in the form of Joel. Hello, Joel.
Wow, thank you. What a what a lovely welcome that I am the sunshine. I'll do my best to shine.
Fantastic.
We are really excited that you are that you're here with us to have a chat, Joel. If it's okay with you, what I'm going to do is big you up. I'm going to introduce you first, and then we'll get stuck into our usual 3 questions. So Rachel and I are going to ask you 3 questions, and then after we've done that, you get the opportunity to ask us. Have to say we're a bit nervous about that, but that's the joy of this show.
There you go.
So we will get stuck in. So for those of you who don't know Joel, and I'm sure he's very famous, so lots of our listeners will already know you, but just in case you don't, Joel advises organizations and individuals on a huge range of topics, all related to transformational change, empathy and regeneration, both from an ecological and social perspective. And he's a writer, a broadcaster, and I love this, creative consultant who weaves stories and anecdote that resonate into his work. His first book, Finding the Wolf Within, Spiritual Rewilding for the 21st Century, will be published later this year. So I'm very excited about that. And Joel, you're a committee member with the Centre for Applied Values and Ethics in Advancing Technologies. I love that it's called Caveat for short. It's brilliant. And for the Tech Ethics Review Board. And you're also a youth ambassador for Made in Hackney Community Kitchen. And you were a former sustainability trustee for the Vegan Society. And not only all of that, but also
There's more.
Joel there's a human. He's a parent, a sibling, a friend, a colleague, a global citizen, and he instigates and participates in dangerous, darkness-illuminating conversations wherever possible, which is just why we wanted him to be a guest on our podcast.
Absolutely.
You know, ladies, I'm gonna have to come more often if I'm gonna get these kind of introductions. I mean, this has made my day.
Fantastic. Well, that wonderful introduction does actually lead me quite nicely and maybe unsurprisingly into the first question, which obviously you say you love participating in dangerous, darkness illuminating conversations. So what does one of those look like?
That is a great opening question. Now, first of all, I just want to share my gratitude again for being here and being invited to be part of your show. And I hope that the conversation that we begin today, which may start, at a very regular and an ambling pace, but as we continue our relationships with each other, may even delve into some of that danger and some of those embracing the darkness places. But ultimately, I think what I am alluding to when I say that is, I think that a lot of the conversations that we have in our current Overton window, say, or in the mainstream, are conversations which are kind of kept within a safe space or within that standard deviation bell, but it doesn't allow for us to really dig into the nuances of who we are as individuals, or even to better understand our societies, understand why we do the things the way that we do. And so for me, conversations which with people particularly lean into what I suppose, Jung would refer to as our shadow, and what I just kind of, I suppose, affectionately refer to as embracing the darkness. I'll come back to that. Are the types of conversations which I think move us as a human family on. I think what I would say is that conversations is how we better know ourselves and each other, because it gives not only ourselves context, but context to other people. Context is then what gives us the opportunity to find empathy. And empathy, I think, is the root to our humanity. So ultimately, conversations and that journey into those conversations is the making of who we are. And so I'm trying to spend as much of my time, both professionally and personally, like kind of burrowing down that hole, so I can better know myself, better know people around me, so I can be a better servant to myself, to my family, and to society.
Wow, I absolutely love that, and I love how you bring the empathy into that. There needs to be more of that in the world, I think. And having these conversations that really do challenge us, put us outside the comfort zone. People often say the magic happens outside the comfort zone. That's where it's a great place to be, and I think it's too easy to stick with the safe, the comfortable, the boxes that we're used to, and to challenge those boundaries and have those difficult conversations. Absolutely fantastic. I'm right with you on that. Love it.
We were talking, Joel and I, the other day about that those containers. So we were talking about the fact about the phrase that's often used is about getting a seat at the table. And my invitation was, rather than trying to encourage people to bring seats to the table, actually, why don't we throw the table away? Because who says we need a table? So we had a great conversation about throwing the table away, and for some people that would count, I guess, as a dangerous conversation, wouldn't it? Because we're so used to that table around which you have to earn your place. So what happens?
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was just going to say that. Yeah, when I refer to that table, and I think that when we allegorically speak about that table, I think that table represents the status quo. And what people are saying is, I want a seat at the status quo. And so, which is why I think you're quite right that when we had that discussion, I want to disrupt the status quo. I don't think that status quo which exists is fit for purpose. And so you're right that less that I want a place at the table, I want us to create a new mechanism by which we can all eat.
Fantastic.
And who says we need the table at all?
Yeah,
it's very exciting. As you say, there we could go on for hours, couldn't we? My question is around, and again, you it's picking up the thread. You'd think we planned this, wouldn't you? Is empathy. Empathy is really, really important to me, as are the other words that you use, ecology, sustainability, and ethics. Those are words that we associate with you. And I wondered, can you share a story about why those things matter so much to you in both your work and your life?
Yeah, and thank you for a question like that, which gives an opportunity to, I think, to my point, contextualize myself for empathy to be shared with us. But I've long, as you said, I've not, these are non-rehearsed, so I'm having to do a recall. But I'm thinking that, looking at the meta of my life, I consider myself to have been an outsider for the majority of my life. I went to, I think, 6 different primary schools. Each year I was in a different school. Then I went to a different secondary school. Then I didn't go to sixth form there. I moved on to study international baccalaureate outside of London. And I went on to university in Yorkshire. But I say that to say that I kind of had a lot of what I felt like was quite a nomadic experience in childhood. And what that meant was that each academic year, I was making new friends, and I was really trying to get to grips with a whole new system all over again. And so by default, I was the outsider. I was always the new kid every September. And I think what that afforded me, and at first I didn't recognize it. At first, for the longest period of time, I saw it as almost like a punishment. It was the reason why I was getting bullied, because, as you know, often the new kid is the easiest to pick on for the existing kids. And for the kid who was the previous most bullied, they're like, oh, so glad this guy's arrived. and they would often be the worst of the bullies, because they were like, finally, like, I'm on this side rather than that side. But I think that what happened was, at the beginning of these experiences for me, I was angry and felt like, that being outside was a punishment. But I think as I got older, I started to recognize that this outside state has actually afforded me an opportunity to better understand the situation at large, because I wasn't, say, invested in any one particular person. I was invested in my safety. And so I was just trying to learn, like, how do I relate to the teachers? How do I relate to the kids? But how do I not be a grass? I don't want to become known as that kid. How do I do that? And so you begin to, through contextualizing everything around you, you start developing your own empathy framework, because then you start to understand, like, what behavior leads to what outcome, or what if I do this, or I mean, as I learn, if I come and give away my packed lunch and like do people's homework, well, then you can. But as I said, these are all mini negotiations that I had to figure over a lifetime. And I think that when you are having to figure things out from a place of resistance, or a place of pain, I mean, makes me think of a famous quote from Mike Tyson: everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face. And that's what I mean. When you get punched in the face enough times, you realize, oh, I can't just skate through. I actually have to make a plan. And so I think through that planning is where I started to become a lot more empathetic. Then I think that, set against a background of my mum, Dr. Gloria Gordon, people will be able to find her. She is an author, and her specialty, or her book, is towards bicultural competence, which kind of speaks to this kind of current idea of third culture, an idea that we should all inhabit our culture of origin as well as our culture of residence, and understand the difference between them both, especially for people kind of coming into new environments from outside, and to never lose the sovereignty of your culture of origin, even as you now try and fit in, or assimilate into your culture of residence. And latterly, before my mum retired, she wrote about working with emotional and spiritual intelligence, and that's what she practiced. And so I was very lucky to have this environment to kind of grow up in and understand myself as an emotional being and a spiritual being, as well as much as an economic and physical being. And so that also just kind of like helped and gave, I suppose, some real depth and oomph even to my like empathic outlook. And then as I kind of into adulthood, I then became a human rights activist, working with my mum, putting on International Human Rights Day events at London South Bank University. And then that parlayed into then me becoming vegan. And I think that what I recognized was that justice as a movement is something that can't be siloed for individual groups. If it's siloed, it's not about justice, it's about jockeying for position. Until we have a justice for all movement, all of it is deck chair rearrangement. And so I recognize that for me to feel a level of integrity that I required for me to feel strong in my activism and in my social justice belief was to, in every aspect of my life where possible, to take as empathic a view. And so then, that became about the animals, and it became about the environment at large. And bit by bit, it just changed my outlook to go from, I suppose, the dualist approach that I was brought up, thinking that we are these special beings with dominion over everything else, to the animist approach of that everything is sentient, everything has spirit, and I'm just lucky to find my place amongst them.
Wow. Considering you said before you said all that about how it was just on the fly, that's an incredible insight into the journey that you've had so far on this planet, and how it's shaped you into who you are and to do the work that you do. So that's absolutely fascinating.
Oh, thank you. Because for me, I worried that I became incoherent in the middle there, but I thought I got it back towards the end.
that you absolutely, that was great. What do you think, Jenny?
Yeah, absolutely. And I I was just thinking off the top of my head, like I do. It's like, oh, maybe Joel could bring his mum with him next time as
Ah,
well.
that's an
She,
idea.
Dr. Gordon and Dr. Gordon.
I know that would be amazing. She said, what a fabulous and really interesting role model. And I think what you demonstrated by that story is that you took her experience and her position, and you've run with it and made it your own, and you've kind of grown it. You've grown it for yourself. So it's not one or the other. And it's interesting. I was talking with somebody the other day who is a now senior medical consultant from India, and she said when she was a child, when she came to this country, that actually as a woman who wanted to study medicine, you didn't acknowledge your culture, because it wasn't a safe thing to do. This was, many years ago now, but I'm not sure that it's changed that much. And she said that she, when people asked her where she was born, she said she was born here.
Yeah,
In conversation,
it can
because
be quite
that was slightly safer.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, my first thing I would say to with regard to my mum is I always believe, and I see it through the lens, that we have the opportunity and we are blessed to stand on the shoulder of giants. And my mum is a giant. And for me to be able to stand on her shoulders and see further because of the insight that she took, suffered a lot of trauma and a lot of pain as a first generation immigrant to the UK, coming here in the 1950s, and to work her way up from a working class family in Brixton to become one of the UK's national teaching fellows, and an author with I believe, I mean, there may be some kind of familial bias, but one of the most important books I think for with regards to DEI, or I mean that term wasn't around when my mum's PhD and subsequent book was published in 97 and 2001, but she was already this idea of bicultural competence, and this idea which to your friend, the Indian doctor who was worrying about how to balance that relationship, especially in the eyes of the dominant culture here in the UK. Because I mean, as my mum and dad would tell me, when they first arrived here, everywhere they went there were signs that were saying no blacks, no dogs, no Irish, and I mean, that was what was written, let alone what was felt. And so,
or said.
Well, exactly, or said, or even enacted upon. And so, we have to some extent, as a society, come a long way. But then there is a part of me that does sometimes also think of the Voltaire quote that the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing us that he no longer existed.
Yeah.
So that was just to say that with my mum and her work, I feel that how I have been able to have the outlook that I have, which I now as well try and share. I mean, in my header, you did mention about my parenthood. I have 2 children, both under 5, 2 daughters, and very important for me as well that what was afforded me in my education, my informal education, which is what culture and our home life is able to imbue us with, that I can do the same, so that my daughters can be born or not born, but they can live anti-fragile and become even more resilient.
And that resilience is so important, isn't it? Because of the fact that yes, we have moved on, but there is still work to do, isn't there? And
our work never stops. It's always the journey. There is no destination.
Absolutely love that.
And we do want to live, don't we, in a I want to live in a society that accepts everyone for who they are and where they are, without fear. I don't want people to live in fear.
No, we're team human. I vote for team human.
Team human.
Although, not forgetting the animals, of course, bearing in mind what's been said. But you know where I'm coming from.
I get your point. Yeah.
I must just interject at this moment. John Granholm's watching, and he's commented back to what you said, Jenny, about we could go on for hours talking to Joel, which we absolutely could. He says, please do go on for hours. Yes. So we have support. So if we decide to go on for hours, we absolutely can. Just thought I'd share that.
Kudos and love to John Granholm.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
He's bearing his bias beautifully.
Yeah. Oh dear. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the third question, Joel, and this is a slightly lighter in topic, but no less important. I feel. So, what brings you the most joy in your life?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, what brings in the most joy in my life is the laughter of my daughters. It's somehow, I don't know if it's a frequency thing, I don't know if it's a combination with the faces, I don't know what it is, but somehow it speaks directly into something which is it's every chat call point basically gets awoken when I hear these girls laugh, because and especially, I mean, maybe this is the myopic part, but especially if it's me who's the one who made them laugh as well, rather than it being, rather than it being something on the telly or a book or something else. But if I'm the one who's made them laugh and we're laughing together, I think there is nothing richer, nothing more rewarding, nothing that stays with me for longer, nothing that inspires me to wake up the next morning more. So without a shadow of a doubt, the laughter of my children, but ultimately as well, to that meta point, I think for all of us, how we create a better world is if we focus on the laughter of children. If we focused on the laughter of children, that would be a great roadmap to making a better world.
Absolutely. It makes me think. I did post something on social media last week about how, when we're children, we're in such a rush to grow up, but actually once we're adults, we can learn so much from the way children go about life. They live in the present moment, and they seem to find it a lot easier than us to find joy in whatever that moment happens to be. And I really do think that children are so important and can teach us such a lot. They're not just children; they're so much more than that. Yeah. So I love that's what you've picked as your answer. I think even when the childlike laughter isn't of your own children, because I'm the same. I've got two daughters. They're perhaps a bit older than yours, but again, the laughter is utterly magical. And what's been really nice, my eldest daughter, who's 15, has shared a load of TikTok or whatever it is, short videos with me lately of just babies laughing, and you just can't fail to smile. It's uplifting. It's because it's coming from a place that's so natural. There's nothing contrived about children's laughter.
I think that's exactly it, because even in rush hour in London, what you will find, if someone brings a buggy into the rush hour train, you'll hear a lot of tutting and you'll see a lot of side eye looks. But the moment if that kid cries, it gets even worse. But the kid laughs, all of a sudden that rush hour crowd actually starts to soften up. They start to soften up when they hear this. So you're right. Even in the hardest and even in the most lugubrious, I haven't used that word in a while, like tone and attitude and environment, the laughter of a child changes it all.
Absolutely. And Michelle Wright's joined us, and she says they live in the moment without prejudice. And how much more do we need of that in the world?
Exactly.
That statement right there, that sums it up, doesn't it?
And that laughter is such a reducer of tension, isn't it? My background is in health, and you could get some pretty tricky times. But laughter is something that we can share together that connects us all fundamentally as human beings, and actually reduces tension, reduces all sorts of negativity. That kind of ability to laugh, whether it's at yourself or somebody else, or with somebody else.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like laughter, is there? So
Yeah.
And so thank you
Fantastic.
thank you, because look, we're all laughing and smiling together. So thank you for
Absolutely.
You can't help it, can you?
exactly
Right.
this little serotonin boost. I love it. Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so I mean, quite frankly, I'd rather just keep asking you questions, Joel, but it is time for you to ask a question of Jenny and I. So we will brace ourselves and hand the floor over to you.
Assume the brace position, ladies. Well, as noted in the introduction as well, and again, thank you. Jenny did mention about my upcoming book, Finding the Wolf Within, which is about spiritual rewilding and what that means in the 21st century. And so my question to you, and hopefully you will understand it even without me kind of going into further detail and context, is when did you last act on the intuition of your wild self?
That's a very exciting question. I'm going to hand to you, Jenny, first, so I can type it and bring it up on the screen.
Okay.
When did you last act on the intuition of your wild self?
Well, funnily enough, Joel, it was actually this week. And I've always been a trust your gut kind of. I have quite a strong spiritual belief, and I use it. And the times in my life when I have overridden it, has usually been to my detriment. And I used my wild self this week. Well, it was last week. So I was up in Bolton at an event, and it's a serious business and professional development event. And I had taken some party gear to wear in the evening, sequins from wild sequins from right over the top, and I had intended to wear it at the after party, and the person that I was sharing a room with said, I love that. Why don't you wear it today? And I was like, what, this morning? It starts at 8 o'clock. You want me to put head to toe sequins at 8 o'clock in the morning and go to a serious business conference with 600 people, people like Daniel Priestley, I mean, we're talking, serious business people in the room, and you want me to do that? And she said, no, I want to know what you think. And so I listened to my inner wild spiritual self, and I did it. I just did it. And it was the most. To be totally transparent and honest, I had a moment where I kind of thought, am I really going to do this? And the minute I let go of what will people think, all of that kind of, how will people perceive me? And I was like, actually, I don't care, because I know how I perceive me. And what I noticed was, because I was in tune with my inner wild spirit, I was walking taller, a bit more of a sachet, and I had this incredible feeling of freedom. And what happened was that loads of people came up to talk to me, because of that energy, because of that ability to just relax into completely who you are, your wild side, your dark side, your light side, just aligned and as one.
You refused to be small. You came out, your candescence, you shone. I love that.
That's absolutely brilliant. And it might not surprise you to know that Michelle says, yes, daytime sequins. Absolutely.
There will be more. Now I've done it once. It's like, hey, I could do that again.
Yeah.
And I was going
to say, evidence of which is on your LinkedIn as well. Some amazing pictures of you, feather boa, sequins, to the nines.
Absolutely.
Chef's kiss.
Absolutely brilliant.
And you, Rachel, do you have a one that you can share with us?
Okay. There's a couple of things that spring to mind. One would be, funnily enough, when working with our previous guest, Taz Thornton, when I broke an arrow using my neck, because the arrow goes between your neck and the wall, and you walk forward till it snaps, basically.
Okay.
And that was something that I just would not have done a number of years previously. There was a real intuition about it, because I just believed I could do it. I was frightened, of course I was, but my intuition just told me, you can do this. You're safe. You can do this. And it felt utterly incredible when I achieved it. But you did ask, did I last act on the intuition of my wild self? That the arrow was a year ago. I've still got the arrow here. Actually, it lives on my desk to remind me. But things like when I'm walking my 10-year-old to school, and if she wants to skip along, then I'll skip along with her. The wild self, child version of me comes out. There was a time where I wouldn't have done that. I'd have said, no, I'm going to look silly to whoever's driving past and to all the other grown-ups who are walking around. Now, don't care. That wild or child self says, do what you want to do, be who you are, and live in that moment and enjoy it, because what else do we have? Well, all we ever really have is that moment, isn't it? So make the most of it. So yeah,
I think to that point, it just reminded me, as you were saying, that the best way that kids learn is, or one of the factors of children learning, is doing dangerous things mindfully or carefully, because but to our inner child, we also still need to continue now doing dangerous things, but doing them intentionally or doing them mindfully. Whether that be conversations, whether that be actions, we can't be afraid of taking risks, because risks is where our future development, our spiritual development, our humanity, our rewilded sides, this is where we find them.
That's just giving me goosebumps.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for your book, Joel. So excited.
Likewise. When does it come out again?
Thank you.
Well, it'll be. I think it's going to be after the summer, just because I have so many exciting things that are coming up over the next couple of months. That stay tuned, please. Add me on LinkedIn, follow whatever, and keep abreast of developments as and when.
Excellent.
Well, I was going to say, Joel, if you want to tell people where they can find you, how they can connect with you, for our listeners, that would be fantastic. So where can they find you?
Well, my name, Joel Bravette, Joel Bravette. I am at Joel Bravette on both Instagram and Twitter. I am at Joel Bravette also on Medium, where you can find some of my essays and shorter form writing. But then also, on LinkedIn. And if you type my name into Google, I believe that my website at joelbravette.card.co will also come up, which will give you links to my existing podcast, some of the films and music videos that I've previously made, and some other articles and things. Basically, there's just a smorgasbord of stuff. Go and have a look. Go and have a gander.
Fantastic. Well, funnily enough, Jenny and I were talking about on the show a few weeks back about the podcasts that we listen to. I think that one needs to now go on the list. Don't you agree, Jenny?
Absolutely. Yeah, we shall go and find you.
Better be. Excellent. Good stuff.
We're coming for you.
Thank you so much. It's been, as I said, this has been a little burst of happiness in my afternoon, even as it goes grey out. It was so sunny this morning.
I know. Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
It really was. It was like a summer's morning, and we've got back to a winter's afternoon. But this little ray of sunshine here has brought it all back for me. So thank you very much, ladies.
Oh, fantastic. Joel, we can't thank you enough for joining us. It's been absolutely just inspiring and educational, and just really lovely to have this opportunity to speak with you. So thank you for taking the precious time out of your day to come and join us. We are super grateful. Right back to you. We're also very grateful to the people that have listened. So thank you for joining us. And before we finish, I just must say that we have another very exciting guest coming up in 2 weeks' time on the show. So that will be on the 10th of April. And for anyone that knows her, it is the fantastic Nikki Thomas, who is the founder of the Growth Community and another podcaster as well. So we're collecting podcasts as we go, Jenny. So please do tune in. Yeah. Please do tune in again and join us. But it just remains to say thank you to Jenny. Thank you to Joel. It's been an absolute pleasure. And please do tune in, folks, and hear us next time. Thank you.
Bye. Until then, be inspiring, be brilliant, be positive. And we'll see you on the 10th of April. That's the day after my birthday. So I'll be full of cake.
Excellent. Bring some with you.
Happy birthday in advance.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.